she knows how to rock a black dress. Like, damn, she has just a lot of stage presence.
Oh, yeah. Won't you talk to me? This is so out of hand.
Her voice is just so luscious.
This is so out of hand. Out of hand.
It's very different. Her 90s stuff is super different from her more recent stuff.
Something's gone wrong with the life that we led.
She's using a lot more thyroid tilt, which is what that vibrato comes from, but then also it adds a little depth of sound. So even though her vowels, right, she tilts the thyroid cartilage, so it's, right, it adds that depth of sound. Obviously, I'm not nearly the talent or the tone that Mariah has, but that's what's going on here, which is really cool.
So out of hand.
And by introducing that, yeah, you get these lower frequencies. It's nice. Literally extends the vocal tract because your thyroid cartilage is tilting, so the folds get a little lower.
Out of hand. Something's gone wrong.
So look at the change of, I hate this term, vocal weight. Basically how thick and thin the folds are. You can also do this by like raising and lowering your larynx, but look at the switch between the more luscious notes and the immediate switch into these runs. That's a lot of quick switching between the two. When you do runs, it's advantageous and in some cases necessary to have really thin folds so that everything can move very quickly, because the more that you have together, the harder it is to move all those things, right?
With the life that we led. Yeah. Won't you look at me?
Her phrasing is immaculate. So the way that she uses her consonants here to give emphasis as a contrast to the accompaniment.
That we led.
That's really hard to appreciate if you're not like a musician, but listen to the drum, then listen to how her consonants come on the offbeat of the drums.
With the life that we led.
Right? She's on the offbeat, she's also with the drummer in some of those instances, but she's right on the beat. And I can't even tell you how many singers just get lost in loving their own sound. Like, she is a click track. She's so precise.
Yeah. Won't you look at me?
But even though she's very percussive and timely with the consonants, her legato, like the kind of like the evenness of the phrase, is immaculate.
Yes, you are. And it seems like you change.
So, let's talk about that low real quick.
Yes, you are.
So, look at, and this is like something that Rachel Farrell does really well, and that people often, when they see it and they're not singers, they think it's strange, but the way you manage your vowels has a huge impact on your tone quality. The pursing of the lips like that, she's still on the same vowel in that she's on A, right? But you can shape that vowel a ton of different ways. A, right? Right? And then she goes low and then brightens up again. And the reason why you generally want to do this on your low is that the higher frequencies on your low. Like if you brighten the vowel, you'll have more high frequencies, and that allows the low to be heard. For many people, when they're in the low range, that's not exactly their power, right? The low note itself, the fundamental, the lowest frequency that you're singing, is not strong. So you introduce higher frequencies to make it louder, kind of like what distortion does to a guitar. It adds more higher frequencies.
And it seems like you change in so many ways. Yeah.
So more of that low stuff.
Oh, it is unfair.
And this is cool too. I talk about this sometimes, maybe a little too much, but this, the pursing of the lips will extend the vocal tract, so it highlights lower frequencies. But then if you get close up to the mic and double up on that, so pursed lips closer to the mic, you get two effects: the proximity effect as well as the extension of the vocal tract to get lower notes. So listen to this.
Oh, it is unfair.
And the pulling back as she gets to the top of the phrase is actually really smart if you want to keep the line really even.
It is unright.
She's so aware of the mic. She's so aware of it.
It is unright. If it's really gonna, then tell me tonight. If it's over, if it's over.
That's really tricky. Grinds like that are actually, if your air is not like ridiculously precise, you can't do a vocal fry, first of all, at all. But then when you go up higher, it's riskier stuff because the vocal folds are literally hitting each other more. So when you sing a note, the vocal folds will go up and then they'll come down, and that is called an oscillation. So when you have the vocal folds oscillate at a 440, if the tuning is 440, you'll get 440 oscillations a second. What a vocal fry is it's this. The folds are like hitting each other. And in the low, they're generally relaxed and they don't hit as often. So it's generally safer to do fries in the lower range. But when you do it in the higher range, the vocal folds are tighter and usually stretched out, and they hit faster. So if you don't navigate that with just the utmost gentle of air, you're beelining for a vocal injury. Specifically a hemorrhage, which is when the folds get bloody.
If it's over.
And that little distortion there is what I'm talking about. Could actually also be a false fold contraction. That. It's beautifully done. It's a wonderful effect, and I imagine it is incredibly intentional because it's so hard to pull off. And then immediately she goes back.
Let me go. Let me go. Don't you know I don't need no apologies. No.
I love this belt. Belting is definitely harder to do than most other styles. It's just, well, it's riskier. And again, her awareness of the mic technique, she belts and goes on.
I don't need no apologies. No. I'm not looking for no sympathy. Oh.
It's just so musically smart.
Looking for.
So she belts, backs off the microphone. Belting tends to, it's very powerful, but it's definitely hot in a certain frequency range that's definitely higher than the rest of things, which is why it sounds so kind of like bright. And then she immediately switches it up to kind of more what we had in the beginning, which is this almost AM radio voice idea, which is you attract the false folds and you can tilt the thyroid cartilage for much more depth of sound. So the contrast is really brilliant. Belting, hot, high frequency sound to this more mellow, lower lush thing that she's doing here.
Don't you know I don't need no apologies.
Raises the larynx on apologies.
No, I'm not looking for no sympathy. Oh.
I love that. This little into the O here. I love this run.
No sympathy. Oh.
It allows her as she descends to make it more rich.
All I'm asking for is for your honesty. Won't you give it to me? Give it to me now.
Oh boy. Oh my God. It's not that she whistles high notes, it's how she uses it. This belt is epic, right? Now, listen to the vowel she's choosing on this whistle. Not just the whistle, the vowel. It's almost like Aerosmith kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's all kinds of different things you can do with your voice, right? And whatever the vocal folds are doing is definitely like a small part of that. It's not an inconsequential part, but it's a small part. And so when she's going for this like super belty, super epic sort of styling here, she's definitely using brighter vowels, a lot of belting. And then this whistle note hits, and it's so satisfying because it's basically still epic in terms of super bright vowels. And she just, it's not like contrived. It's musical. It's a musical decision, and it makes sense. And I love that. She could just do a bunch of whistle notes and everyone would be like, oh, that's really great. And she would be fine for it. People would love her. But she doesn't do that. She actually makes music with it. And that's really insanely difficult. Sorry, I want to point out. So she's been doing a lot of belting, which is the tilting of the cricoid cartilage, fattening up the folds to give us the belt that we know and love. But you can tilt your thyroid cartilage as you belt, and this is what actually, she does this for like a hot second. And there she goes from cricoid tilt. And these things, you know, there's range of motion here. This is not an on-off switch. So cricoid tilt. And then as she descends in the run, she lifts the cricoid cartilage instead of tilting it, and then she tilts her thyroid. So it's like larynx gymnastics. It's not that she does runs. It's that she does them with such variety. Remember when we talked about how thin folds are more advantageous and generally allow for more runs? She's going with fatter folds here. So there's that belt. And then she doesn't really thin out the folds there because she wants the power there. And that she knows how to keep the folds thick while also being able to move them quickly is a lot of coordination and very difficult to do.
Why don't you let me know if it's over? If it's over.
Okay, hold on. Let's talk about it. So going in and out of a vocal fry on a belt. So again, frying up high, risky.
If it's over, if it's over.
I don't know if you can hear it, but when she goes for the fry, she pulls back just ever so slightly to keep it safe. And then she's doing the growl, she's doing the belting. She gets intimate, big contrast, right? Gets intimate with the microphone close up.
Go.
And then this is basically just like straight opera. This is just straight classical singing at the end here.
Go.
Right there. Come on now. I like her. She's like really good.